Greetings, Ranger fans. Jake here for another edition of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where we take a look back on our classic episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews as we count down the 100 weeks to the 100th and final episode. And today, I have a surprise bonus guest. This is Yash.
Hey everyone, pleasure to be here.
You have not seen his face before, and there's a good reason for that. This man is the only other person who tends to wear this helmet. Yash is my stunt double.
Yeah, I met the height requirements for the role, so that's how I got this gig.
So you can. No, it is not. This is not RJ. RJ has not inherited my ability to grow this degree of facial hair as of this time. Anyway, so welcome. I know that the big Power Rangers news stuff is going on next week, but I know that spoilers are coming fast and furious with regards to the last half of Dino Fury. I still have not seen any of these spoilers outside of the occasional screenshot or comment here or there, so I have some expectation of what's going on. I probably could seek them out if I really wanted to and see how well I still remember high school German, but I'm going to wait until at least next week when it premieres here in the US on Netflix, and I do not know how I'm going to... I need to message Morphin Legacy this week and determine when I'm doing the reviews of those, because I am strapped for time. As you might guess, part of the reason Yash is here is because we were just doing some filming. I'm literally still wearing some of the Phantom armor on my leg because I have not had an opportunity to fully suit down. I have not fully demorphed.
Just halfway morphed. I'm
Yes.
sure they've done that in episode. Have they? Like half morph, or they tried to morph and just wasn't perfect.
Well, there was sort of a so have you seen Power Rangers RPM? I don't think so.
No, I'm aware of it, but I stopped at Dino Thunder.
Yeah, Power Rangers RPM. Well, one, it's great. That's where the character of Dr. K comes from, which is MJ's character. But one of the fun things that happened was each Ranger had a special ability, and the Green Ranger, who was kind of the comedic relief of the show, had teleport ability, and he was still trying to get the hang of it, and really didn't have the hang of it for the first half of the series. So his first time teleporting, he just teleported away his suit.
Ah.
So he still had his helmet,
Uh-huh.
and he still had his underwear, and that was all he still had. So
That's hilarious. I'm just picturing that now.
RPM is often praised for being so dark and mature, but it's also just has some of the best humor of Power Rangers, honestly. Nice. The characters and the dialogue are just very good and very funny. So we've been filming for episode 98. We did a whole lot of choreography tonight, but we really only managed to get like one or two. We did the framing of the shots. We got one shot down. We're going to do more shots on Wednesday to pull everything together. So yeah, there's going to be more kicks and throws and whatnot. And we made sure that like when we do the stunts in the suits, like nobody gets injured. Which,
oh yes, lots of padding.
Yeah.
Lots of movie magic and composites and work.
There's gonna be so much compositing in this episode.
But it's gonna be amazing.
I'm hoping so. Liberal use of the green screen with how we're going to be putting together some of these fights, because I want them to be like these nice big wide shots whenever I can pull it off. But I can't actually make a wide shot happen in this room. So I'm going to have to piece the characters together into the shot to make that work. I'm looking for Malagor and Metallosaurus. Oh, for the Retro Megazord line, that wouldn't be bad for the figure line. Yeah, I wasn't thinking like full size Zords. I feel like that wouldn't be likely, but Metallosaurus would be a deep cut. They never released a figure of Metallosaurus before, or Malagor. Yes, we. Oh, wait, are you referring to? I'm going to assume you're just making a joke about White Light, Mystery of the White Ranger, unless there's some other reveal regarding a White Ranger figure release today that I may have missed. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to check social media today. I've been swamped. And wearing a helmet that fogs over heavily. Oh,
it fogs.
Yes.
It's a great helmet, but oof.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to see through, but it looks great.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that I felt like it would be apropos for you to stick around after we did our fight filming today, outside of just, we only just broke for dinner. I literally ate dinner wearing the Phantom Ranger outfit, because you were playing other characters.
I was playing the demon.
Yes, we have, as to be expected, we have more demon fights coming up. And so you were standing in for a couple demons, because you can pull off most of my moves, not I'm the one who works out the choreography, so it seemed like it would make more sense for me to do the particular moves we're working on today.
But yeah, you can basically do the complex kicks and all basically the complex choreography sets, and the stuff that I do is more of like 1 to 2 level attacks.
Yeah, you can still kick me. Like, I trust you to kick me in the chest. Well, I know that when it's a kick to the face, I know that I'm the only one who has whatever it was I did to my joints to be able to do that. I know I'm the only one in the cast who can really do that. Occasionally, Dave, if we really push it. Welcome, Gada. Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't make it for PMC, but I'm so glad you had a fun time there. And you sold it, and Chris, you were selling a Tranzord at work. Fun. All right, so, but yeah, one of the reasons I thought it would be appropriate for you to stick around outside of just like we just wrapped is this is the first episode that you ever appeared in. Appeared. Obviously, we couldn't see your face.
Right.
But this was the first episode that we actually filmed together.
Very surreal.
Because I knew that there were certain scenes where, Phantom is fighting the landlord, and I did not want to composite myself fighting myself for every single fight. I do that for some fights. I don't do that for all of them.
It's interesting, too, because I do remember... So the way it works here is like when Jacob actually put out a posting to look for actors or people or anyone who can like meet the height requirements and do some of the stunt work. And I remember looking at that because the other kinds of posts that I saw throughout those email listings were for theater work and for short films here and there by colleges. So when I saw yours, I was like, oh, this is different, but interesting and intriguing, and Power Rangers, I love that stuff. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and you were willing to go for it, and we've been doing this now for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Years longer than I intended, but
I love it. It's a great ride.
Yeah, it's been fun doing it. So, let's actually dive into that episode. And before we do, let us not forget our 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say with me, chat, Black Lives Matter. Number 2, say with me, chat, fascism is bad. And number 3, say with me, chat, superheroes are fun. So let's dive in with our favorite superhero, one Mr. Database Ranger, as we take a look at episode 90 of Database Ranger's Power Reviews, our review of Power Rangers Turbo, episode 28, Fall of the Phantom.
Previously on Power Review.
With Database, we've got a Power Ranger
Come on,
population in the cross-dimensional
What? Why is
continuum
it? Why are you playing out of here and not out of there? What is happening there? That is peculiar. You gonna play now? What are you doing now? That was unexpected. I hit play, and it played in one place but not the other place that it was supposed to be playing. My apologies. It's reconnecting. Get it? Play this. I don't want to see dogs on... Are you kidding me? Play this. I don't just want YouTube to play. I want this to play. This thing's trying to murder me. Trying to make me look bad in front of my guests.
Because, there's never...
I don't want to see how long you can hold back your laughter with the funny cat.
That took like 2 seconds.
I left my HDMI adapter.
Previous.
No, I want you to play on TV. That's what this button does. Play on TV. I don't want you to stop casting. I want you to start casting.
If you want, I can use my phone. But if you need that, we can make it work.
I could always use my phone too. I just don't know why it's not doing the thing that it does. Play this.
Play on.
Okay, this is... I don't know why it's doing this. Where did I put my phone? Where did I put it? No, you don't have to call it. We'll use yours. Well, you haven't connected to our streaming device before. Okay, so this is... I left the adapter at work. I thought I'd be able to do the casting thing that I've done before. I'm going to go grab my phone real quick because my phone is synced to the device.
I'm just going to chill here and read some of the chats.
Okay. They are not in that tab. Give me a moment. Shoot. Okay. What's going on? Where'd my phone go? I left it in here, right? Where is it?
Here, I'll call through your Facebook.
Where'd my phone go? Alright, Marissa's calling me. Cool. Okay, so,
My favorite, Lightspeed Rescue. That's one I remember growing up watching, and I think even like I enjoyed that one as a kid, as an adult also, just because like Lightspeed Rescue is kind of inspired by real life heroes like firefighters and actual medics and whatnot, and they're adults, so it's my favorite.
I'm exhausted.
I would say my second favorite is. Second favorite's hard. It's got to be Ninja Storm or Dino Thunder. One of those two.
Alright, here we go. I got my phone now. What is up with YouTube here? Okay. I don't know.
I forgot the name, but that my all-time favorite like crossover Power Rangers is like Forever Red's a close second, but the first one is when it's the Lightspeed Rescue and Galaxy.
Oh, Trakeena's Revenge.
Trakeena's Revenge. Love that one. I mean, that's because I love Lightspeed Rescue. I love the character, and I love that crossover. Trakeena's Revenge is sweet.
Here we go. And play. You gonna play? Here we go.
Previously on
Thank
Power
you.
Review.
With that face, we've got a
Turn
Power
down
Ranger.
the volume a little bit. There it goes. My setup. It is ridiculous. So yeah, this is kind of recapping the whole time storm arc that we just been through. Obviously, I'm squeezing a lot of plot into this recap. And then this is recapping. Now this is the episode just before 89. I can't believe how many clips I use in the recaps at this point. That was a little glitch in the fade, because when I copy and paste something from one file to another, a lot of times the transitions won't quite work. It is quite rare that I entertain guests. So yeah, I was going over how this episode was such a process, or this pair of episodes, because everything here was the digital background.
Have a cyberspace vibe.
Yeah, this is the fortress of the landlord within the interdimensional void that we've been traveling through, aka the hiatus, as I call it. It's this place between places. It's a hiatus.
But that wasn't true, was it? You forget about everyone sooner or later. Even forgot about me. You forget about me. Don't think that I can't even recall what scene it was she was flashing back to you just now. Huh? You okay?
Fine. You?
And as we've established, Mayo is the designated slapping character. Mayo has slapped basically every character. And yeah, Mayo was definitely playing. MJ was definitely playing up the disturbing aspect of being by the landlord, but also MJ's just also really creeped out by my landlord voice. I'm not supposed to use it around the house because it's so creepy.
It is very Dr. Evilish.
Yes.
That was the last that anyone ever heard of the ruthless character of absolutely. Hey, this album was awesome. That happened in the second last year.
Really not the most relevant information right now.
Nice to see that you're all
Yes. Even though we spend all this time doing all these stunts and other action scenes for this show, it is still a review.
Oh, yeah.
And every episode, I need to have some sort of premise for the review. And I thought that it would be really fun for the 90th episode to be the villain reviews the episode, and for it to be an actual Phantom Ranger focus episode. Because it always felt like it would have been weird to have the Phantom Ranger reviewing a Phantom Ranger episode, because there'd be that alternate perspective on the episodes that wouldn't allow me to really give it a proper review.
Very meta for sure.
Because he'd be commenting on how but this isn't how it happened. It actually happened this way, and it just didn't feel right to go that way. Because Landlord also has database's voice mimicry ability, which is how, while they're describing the episode, the characters can hear the quotes. It's just that Phantom Ranger database can actually quote and mimic voices, and Landlord can apparently do the same thing. And that voice mimicry ability actually ended up being a plot point in episode 62 and 63, because Kowalski, who was going to be joining us for filming it, but I accidentally gave him the wrong date. He played Dr. C, and our characters knocked him out with a sedative-laden pizza. And then we may have had pizza for dinner. You're fine. You're fine.
Am I?
By the way, we just saw one of your first scenes right there. Because I did the little kick over you, and you did the little dodge of me.
It's beautiful because out of context, you would never know.
Yeah,
which is that's the point.
Yeah, everything where it's just Landlord obviously is me, and everything that's just the Phantom is also me. So I really try to limit it to really focus so that when we are scheduled for filming together, we're targeting just the ones that we're both in.
For sure.
But yeah, we did it was a whole Weekend at Bernie's style episode where, because Phantom Ranger can turn invisible, I was propping him up invisibly and treating him like a human puppet while talking with his voice and moving his mouth. So every time that Chris had to do his lines, He was talking like this, and we were overdubbing him with his voice.
Please keep up.
Sorry. We thought you heard. Never mind.
And yeah, they just hear the fighting in the other corridor, but they don't know where anybody is because they've all gotten separated.
I'm literally the same height you are.
That's why I hired him. Oh, I say hi. I didn't. I've paid you in occasional pizza. That's about it.
I love it. You know, I always love doing stuff like this. And I love pizza.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that one shot where you see Guy looking at the app.
We're close.
Because you see these shots where you don't see Dave's face. That's me again. Because these, as we established, these are the COVID episodes. So during this time, and there's me and you together again. Yeah.
I think one thing I'm sure y'all never notice is the amount it takes and effort it takes to choreograph this stuff.
Oh yeah, especially as we've been getting more and more intensive with the fights. Like a lot of the early fights, like here we're doing a little exchange and struggling. I'm kicking over you and not having you kick over me, but we have definitely stepped it up, especially with regards to the. As you may guess, that was my foot. Because if anyone's kicking Guy in the face, it's almost always me. We got the running gag that Guy just gets kicked in the face all the time. He gets kicked in the face like approximately once every 20 episodes.
Every time Guy gets kicked in the face.
Because he references he's referenced it plenty of times about how much he hates getting kicked in the face. Yeah, they have telekinesis abilities, so they can throw the demons away.
Understandable. And love the jacket.
Yeah.
Guys got a cool jacket.
Oh yeah, it's stylish. But that one bit where he had the app on the phone, the tracking app, that's them tracking down K Alpha. But because it was COVID and I believe David's first kid just been born not too long before COVID started. There were certain shots that we couldn't that I couldn't get him back for during that time because we were all in quarantine. So I shot everything with me wearing Dave's costume because I still had Dave's costume here. That app actually was on MJ's phone. And I had Dave do a voiceover. So I dropped off the camera at his home and he recorded all these lines in his home. So here you know yeah. It's not seamless. The quality of the audio is definitely different from the quality of the audio with the other characters, and it's a little conspicuous that you can't see him. But that shot right there, if I recall correctly, was just the more Potsners and MJ, Justin and Sarah and MJ. We should get a counter on how often he's been kicked in the face.
Yeah, I do have to say I have not seen the entire Turbo, but I've obviously Turbo Power Rangers movie.
Yes.
But I've never actually seen the season itself. So
it's a rocky season. I have a lot of issues with the season as a whole, but the Phantom Ranger arc is a solid arc.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah. Cry Havoc. And here we go, summoning demons right out of the wall.
Phantom Ranger back in his little cage.
Maybe this time we'll make a cage big enough for two. Unlike Bullfire and Skeleton,
But
it won't charge you admission.
I had mentioned last week how we filmed all the more Posner stuff in a weekend for a bunch of episodes all in a go. And so I had been filming all of Dave's stuff as Guy but only the stuff that he shared with the more Posners or with other characters. And then we were gonna film all his solo stuff later, like him looking after K Alpha leaving and saying I don't like this and things like that. Him talking to K Alpha. But none of that. But then COVID happened, and so we didn't end up getting him back. So that's why all of those shots that he doesn't share with the others had to have his head cut off. Like that bit right there would have had Guy following them saying, "I really don't like this," and I had to cut that line. But the one bit where you can see the more Posners follow K Alpha, and you see Guy's shoulder. That's composited in. I did a shot of myself from behind wearing his costume and composited it into that shot so that he would he would still be able to have the line.
I'm sure it takes a lot and it varies depending on the image or scene you're trying to convey. But how long does it take to composite?
It does vary a lot. Like some bits are easy enough where I can just if it's nice and clean, I can just click on the green screen. I can just drop the effect onto the shot. The green will vanish, and I'll have the underlay. And that's great when that happens. But for this episode, I also had to make sure that every background shot was aligned within the digital environment that I created, and I had to be like, okay, where's the height of the characters' heads? Okay, I want to make sure the wall is matched up where it should be relative to their heads. What should be their angle relative to the wall? How far away are they from the wall? And I had to position the digital camera within Maya in the, not digital, the virtual camera, whatever, in the appropriate way so that they were pointed at the right spot. Oh, and that was actually a slightly better shot of the little fortress than we got in the previous episode. You can see all the spikes of the fortress and everything around there. And again, how it's similarly designed to Astronoma's Dark Fortress from Power Rangers in Space.
Well, Jim Cush narrates things about how invincible they are. However, I mean, of course.
I think that one was. I don't think I had you for that one. I think that was a composite.
I didn't know that one shot where you were pushing and I fell back. Was that also a composite?
The little, because it was a little energy burst. I think that one was a composite because I don't think I used you for that shot. It's really the final fight that we really spent the most time on. I love that little blur effect that I do. Every now and again, I spot flaws, I spot errors. Like when Mayo dropped in the back of the car, the teleportation error was missing, so she just kind of popped in there. There really isn't any, I would say, perfect episodes of Power Reviews, because I can always identify, like, some effect that I screwed up, or something where it's just a little bit off, and it's just like, it's the rush of trying to get it all out together, just as a single guy as a single individual trying to edit it all and do all the effects while also filming and directing everything.
I've lost my power to leave the closet.
And I feel bad that I don't have Alex Dodd's vocal match down. That's just one of those things that I just kind of need to that I just kind of accept that's the way it is. And the eyes, like, I feel like I didn't quite track right. I didn't spend enough time getting those just right. But here we're seeing more of the fortress. This is actually that booming, that little voice in the background. That's our first hint of Zordon as he's established later on.
And I remember I mentioned this before, but every time I'm over here and we're shooting, I'm always the one in the suit. So actually seeing the suit
in action,
it's like, it's really badass. It's cool.
Yeah.
Such a good helmet too.
Yeah, I love the helmet's great. And then there we go. I remember that. I remember
Oh, yeah.
that where I had to keep throwing you on the ground to make that work right.
I remember.
Oh, this shot. If I recall correctly, this is not. I did not have you for that.
Oh, you had someone else?
No, I just don't have that hand gloved. I'm just doing this. I'm like, there's so much dialogue from this position.
I might as well just like fake it. I mean, it looks good, and I never would guess.
Because it didn't make sense to me to just have you just standing there, like, giving my final thoughts while I just use just my hand. I'm like, I can just use my hand like this and cover it with a glove, and it looks.
It looks good.
It looks good.
I never would have guessed.
The shape-shifting powers, despite only appearing in this episode, is well utilized in both attempts to learn.
And I'm just trying to buy time for the others to come and save the day by actually doing an analysis of the episode he was talking about.
His deception also manages to bypass any challenges that may
This also gave me a good judge for what the full size of the power ruby should be, so I have a prop that is the appropriate size for when the ruby needs to emerge for things like Ruby Blast. Because it's so much tinier when it's in his chest. You can see how it's like the size of a quarter when it's in his chest, but when it's in his hand, it's that big.
This, you know, it is always your set design and your costume design is always impressive because now that I see what the Phantom Ranger actually looks like, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
It's very, very close.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with how it came out. It took a lot of work. And I definitely don't have the detail on the arms and legs.
No, but like the main chest and everything, even with the pipes, it's like it's very spot on.
Yeah, that was really where I had to dedicate a lot of the work. Because I knew I wasn't going to be able to recreate everything perfectly in a reasonable time frame. You know, I don't have the right arms and legs quite, but I do have enough of the surface of there that you get the sense. And generally, if you're seeing the arms and legs, they're in motion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the knee pads. And that's something that I always feel a little bad about. But it still looks like I have the knee pads because the pants that I'm wearing underneath, or that you're wearing underneath, kind of bulge out a little bit in between the other armor pieces.
Out of context, that just funny.
Yeah, just all. Yeah, we're just talking about Turbo as a whole right there. About how ridiculous so many of the episodes were.
This episode, though, marks the penultimate story of this 7-part saga of escalation. By effectively removing players.
I remember like just thinking about Johnny Bosch, Johnny Young Bosch. That's his name.
Yeah.
And how he was a Black Ranger and.
Yep. And then he was Green Zero Ranger. He was Green Turbo for the first half of this
Okay.
season. At this point, they changed out the cast.
I remember like just thinking when I saw him in the movie, the Turbo movie, how he like kind of gets screwed over a lot.
Oh yeah. He always liked to joke out. I got the frog in the first movie, got the minivan in the second movie.
It's like he has like the cool figure.
Yeah.
But he's a successful anime voice actor.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it looks like fun and all this.
I also enjoy that I get to use the landlord to present all of the cons of the episode while Database is presenting the pros, because he's going to be more invested in the characters, and he knows all the characters in universe. Cassie and Phantom were an item in universe.
Overall, the fall of the Phantom may have its share of writing issues in the form of some forced dialogue, or lack thereof. But the execution of the plot and of the raised personal stakes make it a pivotal installment in
This is I think a good tense episode in many regards. There's a lot of I definitely obviously have a lot of humor as they're sniping back and forth, but this is all really the tension between and that was us. I think I had you standing up on a chair for that shot.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then there was you trying to kick me and me knocking things away. Oh, and then those shots with Dr. C, you might also notice there's a little bit more echo to his voice. And that's because in order to film his shots, because he hadn't been filmed before COVID, I was masked and I went to his apartment and I brought a piece of set to his apartment to film those 2 shots. Cliffhanger. Alright, and that is a wrap on 90. So, now you got a chance to see the show. I know I was talking over most of it.
No, but I think it's really cool. I love how it's coming out. I mean, your ability to frame a shot and convey the scene, as generic as that sounds, is very important, and you do well there, and it's sweet.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely a challenge, and this episode had a lot of challenges because of COVID. Like 89, we basically filmed everything that really we needed to film before COVID hit. But 90, like, this came out in September of 2020, I believe.
Well, it's almost surreal when you think about, like, we spent hours getting these shots. We're talking a good 5 hours.
Yeah.
And they're just that ends up being, like,
seconds at a time.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
When you put in the time, it comes out great.
Landlord does tend to disrupt things. That is, he is villainous in that respect. But yeah, like, you know, that bit where I think one of the 2 I think most challenging ones that we did were when I had to throw you to the ground.
Yes. Because
that was the grabbing the leg, pulling down move. And then the one where I had been holding you up, and then you had to kick me away. I think.
I remember another one. I don't know if that was in this. I don't think it was in this one, but the one where you're doing a spin kick on the floor and have to jump over.
Yes, because that's right. Because I was better able to do the sweep kick. Yeah. So we used your legs to be the landlord. So that's the one. That's the one point where you got to play the landlord.
Yeah, in that one spot, like I got to do the shot.
I was trying to remember who was in the helmet for that one shot. I'm like, was that me in the helmet? Was that you? Was I?
That's the good thing, though. We may not remember
I everything blurs together. I would have to go back and double check the actual footage to really be sure, but I'm gonna trust you on that, because I think I just gave you like a chair to help lift yourself up so that you can do the feet out.
Yeah, I think a chair or maybe one of these cushions that we just basically, like, we have cushions on the ground, so like when we do some of the falls, we just land on them like that.
Yeah, like I've still got the cushions from the old couch lying around because and I have one of those, you know, flippy foam chair things that I was sending you tumbling into earlier today.
That's always fun.
I filmed some really fun action shots with Dave at the beginning of the week too. Like this has been an action-packed week for choreography and everything. Because it was just like basically when it's arguably. I know that we were going to film on Wednesday and then you had to cancel. Mm-hmm. But it honestly kind of worked out because I instead just spent that evening actually choreographing the fight that we finally worked out today.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't fully choreographed that fight yet. I'm just like, oh, right, this paragraph of fighting.
Well, it's also like, I think a lot of people don't realize it takes time to like choreograph it. Yeah. I mean, you're the one who usually does most of that.
Yeah.
Or all of that. And then the other thing is practicing the choreography and then putting the armor on.
Yes.
And then practicing with the armor on and then doing a bunch of takes.
Exactly.
Like, it's a process.
You can't just be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Put on your costume. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
You need, like, the helmet obscures your vision.
Yeah.
Significantly.
You really see out of that.
Like, you know, it works as a helmet, but that visor fogs up fast, and it does tint the lighting, and it limits your field of vision. And then your motion isn't the same when you're wearing it either.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like this weird balancing act of you have to show how, like, tough you are, or, like, how hard your hits are and your moves are.
Yeah.
But not to the point where
you're actually hurting the other person.
Yeah, hurting the other person. But, like, just because,
I appreciate that you were putting the armor above your own well-being there. or my well-being. Because honestly, the armor takes more time to repair.
I got health insurance.
There we go.
The armor is a pain. I can understand. That's good. It's a good armor.
But yeah, I'm so impressed by some of the action sequences on Power Rangers. Like, we've established how Dark Honda is now a character within Power Reviews, but originally when he was a character in Power Rangers in Space, I am still flabbergasted by that one suit actor who did a series of back handsprings in the Dark Honda. That's in a monster costume.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
You have such low visibility. You have such limited mobility in many regards. You're wearing like 50 pounds of foam rubber. Can you imagine doing full-on back handsprings in that? Like a series of like flip, 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 flip. That's one of those like really impressive things. Welcome, Rudy.
Yeah, it's like an acrobat right there.
Yeah, we're talking stunts. We just wrapped up our discussion of episode 90, which was the introduction of my good stunt double here, Yash.
Yo.
But yeah, 90 was definitely one where I had to work around so many restrictions because of COVID. Like, dropping off my camera in Dave's mailbox so that he could do the voiceovers. And I forget if I had his costume already at the time or if I had to pick up his costume so that I could wear it. And then just like compositing in whoever needed to be in a given shot who I just couldn't have. So I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to have a shot with Dave here. Can't have Dave here. I'm just going to put I'm going to put on Dave's outfit and have my shoulder be Dave and use a voiceover for Dave to make it seem like he's in the shot with other characters. And then there was just no masking the different sound quality for Kowalski on those two shots because that was filmed at his apartment shortly after he moved in. So this was a basically empty apartment. So there was so much echo.
Oh, I see.
It was like hardwood floors. It was like like an old building.
Mm-hmm.
So there was so much echo on everything, and I'm just like, there's a lot. I can't do anything about this. We'll just take it and move. So I was over there for like maybe like half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever. I brought in. I'm like, okay, I've got my camera. I've got a light, and I've got the one of the wall panels. I brought that. You know that one square panel that pops out of the like window wall. I popped that out of the window wall, and I brought that down. And I propped that up like on a shelf in his dining room, and had him film in front of that. And that was where I got those two shots from, because I'd already filmed MJ reacting to the character. I'm like, I don't want to have to change the script and take him out of here. I don't want to lose that. I'm going to go get those two shots. And I was just masked the whole time.
It's like all the impressive effort that no one sees.
Because this was, summer of 2020.
Yeah.
We didn't have a vaccine yet. Everybody was still masked. People in general should be masked if they're out in public spaces and like
interacting that way.
Yeah. Like, I recognize that when it comes to filming, it's not anyone who I bring over to filming is someone who I trust has been responsible outside of my house, and I recognize that we are both going to be unmasked during the filming because that's how the filming works. But I still wear my N95 at school with my students. I'm one of the few teachers who still does. And you are right, Lumina. This is the first episode where we never see DB demorphed. Where he's morphed as the Phantom Ranger for the entire episode, and you only see my face as the landlord. Because like 80 was close, but then I demorphed at the end of it. So yeah, this was I think the only episode actually of the series at least the series to date, that where I don't demorph, where at no point do you see Database Ranger's face outside of on the face of the landlord. And I feel like that's somehow really appropriate for this episode. It's the villain is giving the review. It's about the Phantom Ranger, and it just feels appropriate. And then the next episode is the first one, I believe, where I don't appear at all. Episode 91 is the first episode where I am not in the episode at all, in any respect. Like, I don't think I do any voiceovers or any stand-ins for in 91. Same thing with 93. I think in 93, I briefly stood in for Guy to, like, be his fist, because I realized I hadn't gotten, like, a punch shot. And then, like, 95, I'm standing in for, like, Darkonda. But in terms of actually having the character of Database Ranger being Database Ranger, yeah, this is the first time that we don't really get to have that, and the next one's the first time where we don't even get to see the character at all. Yeah, it's been a long road. It's been a very long road.
Coming out amazing though.
Thank you so much. Yeah, one thing that I felt helps with the digital background scenes that I didn't really bring up last week is that in the Landlord's Fortress we have that whole reddish hue of everything. Mm-hmm. So I do actually tint the color balance on all the characters so that they're all a little bit more reddish, and that helps them blend into what would be the natural lighting of the scene a little bit more.
Right.
I do a similar thing in 96. Yeah, 96 was a big one for us because I had to fight you like 5 different times in 5 different ways.
Is that the one where you were 3?
That's the one where there were 3 of me plus the landlord.
Of course.
And so for that one, we had there was the red DB clone, there was the green DB clone, the blue DB clone, and I did lighting. And I was showing you the shots earlier, how I had the red background for the red clone, blue background for the blue clone.
Yeah.
And when it switches from one to the other, I actually changed the color balance on Phantom Ranger as well to make him match the new lighting. And it's amazing what a difference that can make to just tweak the color balance a little bit. Like when it's just a normal white flat lighting from these lights, like he just looks like you've just dropped this person in front of a green screen, very obviously. But when you match the color of the lighting of the space, it's amazing what a difference that blending effect will create.
Yeah, it's like if you can match the lighting of the 3D effect and the actual lighting of the scene, it's just seamless.
So much of that actually came together quite well. Like I would not call myself an effects expert by any means. There are people on YouTube who do outstanding things, but I do try my best. And yeah, I was Lumina. We were talking about that earlier. How I generally don't tend to have characters review episodes that they themselves were featured in, or at least not if they were featured in it prominently, because I didn't want to get weighed down by the added baggage that comes with the character having actually experienced those events. Because you could be like, oh, that's not how it happened. It happened this way. Oh, I remember what I did in between these scenes, and you just get so bogged down by that. And so I've generally avoided that, with the exception basically just the exception of episode 68 with Ancient History, where Dr. K was in a memory, and it was all very trippy, and so she was constantly fading in and out of it anyway. And this was her recalling it, and less of the commentary of an actual review, which is always a little different. Yeah, and then with and yeah, when it comes to various things about Phantom's life, he still doesn't remember a lot of his past at this stage. Um, and so yeah, the Phantom laser popping up at the end of '96 is him remembering an ability that he has that he just hadn't tried yet. Same thing with like the Ruby Power Blast, the Ruby Blast from that we saw in episode 88 just 2 weeks ago. Yeah, there's a lot of little things where I'm just like, oh, I gotta throw in this. I gotta throw in this. I gotta throw in this. And now we're in the final. We have 3 episodes left to go. So it's like I gotta throw the whole bucket.
Just like it's like an Avengers Endgame. Just send them all in there.
Oh my god. I've filmed with so many people. Just over the past like 2 years trying to make this finale happen. There's so many little cameos here and there that I'm just trying to get in there. And I still have so many more to do. And I don't know if I'm going to get to everyone. And I feel bad about that.
Can't wait to see it though. It's going to be a very cool shot.
I'm really hoping that everything comes together well. Like, yeah, there's other stuff that that I planned for us to film together that I haven't even gone over with you yet. Because we've been focusing a lot on 98, and I've talked to you about 99, but but we haven't had a chance to dig into it.
Yeah. But I remember you mentioning like it's gonna be real epic.
Oh, it's gonna be crazy. Yeah, and he used the Phantom Laser in episode 96 to avoid using the Ruby again because using the Ruby did not go well for him at the other point in 96. And that was also just a matter of, like, sometimes when it comes to introducing things, it's really a matter of logistics. Like, yeah, he could have had the Phantom Laser before then. But that meant I would have had to build it before then. I hadn't built it until 96. And I had to, like, figure out, like, how do I do the blade flip? I want to do the blade flip. The blade flip was something that didn't exist in the show, but I want to do a blade flip so I could do a stab. And eventually I got it, and it was, like, a stupidly simple effect where I just taped on a piece of foam board, just do this, and that folds it over, causing it to flip. So that's going to be something that I need to use in some of the fights that we got coming up. I'm trying to also not get into details with spoilers on these final episodes.
For sure.
Like, as you all can guess, there's going to be fight sequences. There's going to be a lot of characters involved. Phantom and Landlord, they're going head to head. It's happening.
Yeah, Power Rangers review.
Like we saw how the end of '97 was going. We know who's going up against who here. We just don't know exactly how it's all going to play out. And that's going to be the exciting thing. But yeah, 90 was definitely an interesting experience as, like, arguably the first full-fledged COVID. Like, 89 was the first of the COVID episodes, because it was the first episode released during COVID, but most of it was filmed in 2019. And actually a lot of 90 was filmed in 2019, including our fight sequences. That was back in 2019.
We just shoot them.
Artillotron would be fun to have. I'm not giving any spoilers on what's coming though. But yeah, we filmed summer of 2019, and I was still working on releasing. I think I was still working on releasing 88 when I brought you in, and then we were filming that during like August after I released 88. And then I got my first job teaching, and all of the time that I had available where we were meeting up just kind of vanished.
Yeah, and then I was at the time actually it's interesting.
Yeah.
We met around the end of my MCAT prep when I was studying for MCAT at the time.
Yeah.
I am not in med school now, and I'm perfectly okay with
Yes.
But yeah.
But yeah, it's weird that was 3 years ago now. I was like, all right,
Flies by.
I'm gonna finally film all these final scenes. We're gonna get these big scenes knocked out for 90, and then we'll get and then I'm bringing my stunt double again. We'll get started on 96, which is gonna be another big one, and all the stuff for the finale, and that's gonna be great. And then after 90, I got my job teaching, and it's like, okay. Well, maybe by next summer we'll be able to start up again. Boom, COVID, and I got good editing done during that summer. I think which was just so much CG work.
Yeah. It's kind of random too, but I remember you letting me have a pirate handkerchief.
Yes.
Which I used as like a...
Yeah, because you needed like a cloth covering for your face.
Covering face.
Because we were still using like bandanas back then.
Yeah. I remember that, and this was actually like right before COVID, but I was going to goth night.
Yeah.
I needed something like that, but I had it for a long time because of COVID.
The effect of landlord picking DB up. Okay, so basically, whenever I have landlord like pick somebody up with one hand, I just have you. I think I just had you standing on like a step stool or a chair.
Yeah, and then I'm like holding on to your hand.
Yeah, you held on to my hand, and then you just stand up, and I let my hand go up with you, and that's how we do the lift.
Yeah.
And then when you did the kick to get me away so that you could jump down from the wall, that was just you kicking forward as you jumped down off of the step stool or ladder or whatever we had. So the lift is actually one of the quicker, easier things for us to do. It was really that throwdown that was more challenging.
The things that looked easy when you see it on screen are actually harder.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess that's obvious, but like, yeah.
Because with the throwdown, we had to do it over and over again to get it looking right. Because the thing is that you're supposed to be like up there, so you have to go from like, and so you have to be like standing on one foot while I hold your leg, and then you have to like drop that one foot out and land down. We had to have the cushions just right. And we had to angle the camera just right so you couldn't see the cushions, and we did that repeatedly without the Phantom Armor, and then we had to do it repeatedly with the Phantom Armor.
And that's the thing, like, nobody sees
Yeah.
We do it like 5 or 6 times without the armor.
Yeah.
And then when we do it with the armor, it's like whole new problems to solve.
Yeah. And a lot of times we'll do it first with the armor without the helmet.
Yeah.
So that we can make sure we can still see it, but we're finding out, are we risking damaging the armor? Can we still move the same way in the armor?
It's like, or like, okay, I can't see with the helmet, but I mean, I can kind of see that, okay, we're just going to go straight, or we're just going to punch straight, or we're just going to move in this direction, and just, like, have faith that I won't hit the camera. And
then so much of it Lumina, so much of it is in the edit. So much of a fight scene is in the edit. Like, I still haven't seen, I don't know if you've seen Iron Fist. I haven't seen Iron Fist.
Oh, yeah, I've seen Iron Fist.
So, I remember people making a lot of fun poking a lot of fun at the fight scenes in that first season because they were still pretty rough. Because it was a rush production. The main lead didn't have a martial arts background, and they didn't have enough time to really train him. Which to be fair, that's the case with a lot of my actors that I'm working with. Like
even me as well. I mean, I'm not like the martial arts expert or anything. I've done some years of karate and jiu-jitsu and things of that nature, but nothing more intense than that. Right.
I've got my black belt in Taekwondo that I got at the age of 35. So I've watched a lot of Power Rangers. I've done stunts on. I've done some action choreography on stage, and I have some Taekwondo background. And the rest of that is just me having a good feel for things.
And that's kind of the thing, which, I mean, I'm sure you can speak more to it, is, like, Power Rangers fight choreography is not, like, the goal isn't to look realistic, the goal is to look bombastic.
Yes.
Showy.
Yeah, we were looking at a fight scene from Power Rangers earlier to kind of mimic some of the moves, And it's just like, that's just not, there's nothing realistic about the way these characters are moving right now. Like, oh, I punch your hand and you do a flip.
And it just goes
That makes no sense.
That's fun.
And in regard to how heavy is the Phantom armor,
It's not that heavy at all, actually.
it's just restrictive.
It's just restrictive.
You're constantly nervous. I don't
It's
know
gonna
about you.
break.
You're constantly nervous you're gonna break it.
That's the thing. It's
'Cause-
just
You know, your
Yeah.
shoulders are out here. So, like, it's outside the boundaries of what you usually consider your body, so you're constantly nervous about smacking into something.
And then, like, the biggest annoying thing is the, maintaining consistency with
Yeah.
the constant takes and shots. So we could do a take, and I remember we've done this before,
Yeah.
where we've done, like, an action shot, it worked great, it looked great, but the ruby fell off, and we just never noticed
Exactly.
it.
And it's like, wait, where's the ruby? How long has it been missing?
Yeah.
Because that thing's, like, taped on, and it just falls off every now and again. How long is one well, a typical episode of Power Reviews obviously is, about 20 minutes-ish. But in terms of how long does it take to make, it takes some time. I'd be hard-pressed to give you, like, an hour count, but it's like, we some of these episodes, like, when you add up writing it, choreographing it, getting actors in, doing some rehearsal,
Yeah.
filming everything, editing everything, putting in all the effects, exporting, encoding, uploading. Like, early episodes, I used to be able to turn those around in a week. But these year 3 episodes take like hundreds of hours worth of work when you add it all up.
It's also, and this is something I appreciate about you, that you're very, logical and systematic about how you write out the fight choreography.
Yeah.
You have a clear mental perspective of how you want the scene to go out. And I think that's very important for anyone out
Yeah.
there, because I'm definitely not like an expert in stunt choreography
Right.
or anything of that nature. But you take classes, you learn things, and the key thing is being prepared and being organized and knowing step by step how you want a fight scene to go, and then practicing it. Versus sometimes, I've worked with people who, and I've done short films where it's like, all right, let's just fight, and it's like, but there's no vision and clarity, so it just looks.
Yeah, they just try and kind of find it in the moment with the camera as you guys just go to town. And
it ends up wasting more time than it actually ends up being effective.
yeah.
And then it's like, why do we kill a day just to,
And we've had plenty of sessions where I'll bring you over for a fight scene, and
we improvise.
yeah, we have to kind of work it through. And like, okay, let's try this move. I know, like, a big part of it is also knowing the character that is engaged in the fight. I know how the landlord moves. I know how each of the clones from '96 move. Each of them had
motivation behind their action. It's not just randomly, oh, let's just punch because it looks cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I've got a feel for this character. I'm gonna try something. You try reacting to it. I want to see what your natural reaction is. Okay, when I do this, okay, I think this might work. Okay, this isn't working for the shot, but if I change it this way, this will work.
Yeah.
And that process of discovery.
Or just like, the process of discovery and realizing how. Also, the irony that, like, we can do a fight scene, it can look great, it can feel great, but how does it look on camera?
Yeah.
And then realizing,
Oh yeah, no, there was one shot that we spent so much time on the other week, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, this is not gonna work. We gotta reshoot this.
yeah. And it's like, it's not even because we didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
Like, it's just because the camera needs to be in a certain position and lighting and angle to actually capture the essence of it.
And it's the limitations of the space too. The room is only so wide. The green screen's only so wide. So like, if I want to get full body action shots, I can't really do that here. It doesn't really work most of the time, unless I'm compositing each individual person, and then they can't really be making contact. And there are some shots where you need to be making contact. It just doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah, some stuff is inevitable, but like, there's like stuff we can cheat. Like, if you need to follow through with a kick, I can stand a little bit in front, so you're not actually kicking me, but it looks like you're kicking me back. But in some things, it's like if you want it to look good, you're gonna have to get a little town.
And I feel this brings me back to what I was talking about before with you. A lot of it's in the edit. One of the big goals that I kind of have when it comes to editing the fight scenes is, well, one thing is that we're limited because of the aesthetic of the show. I always have a static camera. So if we change our position, the camera can't follow, not smoothly. It can't smoothly change its angle, it can't smoothly change its position. If we get out of the frame, I have to change the shot to follow and reposition and have that new perspective on the fight. As, like, I'll go to punch you, we need to reposition it so that we can see you punching me, back and forth. And so there ends up being a lot of cutting. But I think the goal when you're doing an edit for a fight scene is to try and see how well you can put it together with the fewest cuts possible.
How much of it can be done in one shot?
Exactly. to an extent.
Right.
Like, sometimes there is advantage to being able to go back and forth. You get that quick, punchy, rapid fire feeling of switching perspective. But if you overcut it, you lose the direction of the action. You lose a sense of positioning, and you lose that sense of impact and stakes if you over-edit a fight scene, which was one of the big critiques on first season of Iron Fist, was that over-editing of certain fight scenes. Like, there was, I believe a scene in, like, an office storage closet or something.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, one example of over-edited, kind of, not a fight scene, but a scene is this famous one from Taken 3.
Oh, yeah?
Neeson. And there's this scene when all he's doing is running from a dog, and he's, like, escaping, running from a wild dog and climbing a fence to go over it. But the way it's shot and cut, it tries to be all crazy and intense and, cutting different shots, but it's
just feels sloppy.
It feels sloppy because it's like you couldn't just shoot him climbing over a fence, and it's like, I guess that's what's difficult for him to really do.
Sometimes you need to have the edit in order to sell certain impacts that don't sell otherwise. Like, one of the big things that I keep having to do with our fights, and that's along with my other actors as well, is Fist comes to the camera, we have the reaction. Because you can't necessarily sell the impact directly, but the cut becomes the impact.
I mean, interesting. You could probably do that here too, where you just pretend you're punching me, but then I'm just gonna go.
Oh yeah, we did. We did a whole interesting exploration process for when Worlds Elsewhere, the online theater, did a production of Lysistrata. And me and Mike Fatum, who does some cool sword stuff on YouTube, we were brought in to act as action choreographers for basically a fight scene over Zoom. So we had to discover, how do you sell a fight on Zoom? Can you slap somebody and have it play right? And we're like, oh, wait, no, if you do an action like this, the eye actually follows that hand, and it would follow it to whatever square was up there, not necessarily the square of the person reacting to the slap. And so we realized that all the action had to be direct to the camera in order for it to sell right.
I see what you mean.
And that was a really interesting optical illusion, because I'm like, okay, try slapping this way, you react. It looks right for you, but not right for you, and you're doing the same thing. What is happening? And we realized it was because of the way your eye tracks as you follow the motion. It's also a criticism I've seen of things like the early Transformers movies, how they're so busy that you have things coming in one side of the frame, out the other, and you don't and your eye is moving around. You don't know what you're looking at because you're not sure where to look, and you don't have enough time to process what you're seeing.
Those movies, I'm just amazed that they make money.
I mean, I have to admit, I'm impressed at the very least by the sheer amount of processing power that went into creating some of those models.
Oh, sure. I mean, I do respect the
Um,
special effects and CGI. Like, they should keep getting work. But,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
like
it's in service of
the
design.
scripts definitely, the scripts and direction not great. The effects work is impressive just in terms of how much effort had to have gone into, like, um, that the combination of all the Constructicons, I'm forgetting the name of the character, that was the massive combined transformer at the end of Revenge of the Fallen. That thing melted a computer to render.
Really?
It took, yeah,
I did
they
not know
melted
that.
a computer rendering that thing.
Wow.
It overheated one of their computers. It was wild.
Damn. I mean, it looks good, yeah.
Have I considered using public domain music for fight scenes? A little bit. Not within Power Reviews, largely because I have a big thing about preserving certain elements of how Power Reviews operates, so that the way the Power Reviews is, I've never had background music in general. It's always just capturing the moment of what's happening and interpolating that with what's going on in Database Ranger's mind. But I could, for instance, potentially, if he was imagining a song playing, I could have that song included. As we included the Baywatch theme when we had to do the slow motion slap in episode 86.
Now I'm just thinking maybe you could throw... I mean, not that you probably wouldn't be allowed to, but imagine Mortal Kombat.
Oh, you know what? You might have heard a little sound.
No,
That was the Ruby just
Ruby-
falling off the armor
Ruby
in the
just fell
corner.
off the armor.
It
We
just
didn't even
landed on the
move
floor.
it. It was just there, and it fell. See what I mean?
Yes. All right. So, all that being said, I know we've hashed out a lot of things with regards to how fight scenes work, and how you need to cut around the things that you can't make happen. Like, if we could do a flip, I'm not cutting away from that flip, but none of us can do a flip.
Yeah.
So I have to cut from the beginning of the flip to the end of the flip, and it's not going to look as good as a real flip, but it's going to look better than us trying to do a flip and failing miserably.
Yeah.
I
got health insurance. That doesn't mean I want to use it.
Yeah. And all sorts of other things are just kind of found in the edit in many regards, where you have to time it just right to sell the impact. You have to think about the geography of the scene. Like, I was working. I made a chart earlier today with regards to the fight scene we were doing, so that I could keep track of which character had which costume in which moment, because I had you playing all these different characters, and I had to keep track of where each one was.
Indeed.
So it's
Yeah, that's something else that, like if we have other characters, because everyone has different schedules,
Yeah.
sometimes we'll, like, just for framing reasons, we'll, like, portray different characters for different fight scenes and whatnot.
I'll be like, okay, so now we know how it looks when somebody deals with me on this side. I need you to now move over to this side to see how that's going to look while I'm still in this position. Yeah, I know. The landlord could have just been like, boop. Yeah, also because it's all green screen, you don't have the reference of, okay, where in the room was the person standing? No, you need to think about where in the imaginary space they are, because you're constantly repositioning for where you should be, but I'm just like leaving the camera in the same place as we're just moving around in front of it.
Yeah, and then the times you gotta move the position of the camera to be able to match the
Yeah.
scene.
It's like, oh, I did a fight over here, and now I'm off this frame, and now I need to reposition, so I'm over here. And I'm technically supposed to be in the same shot, but I actually just moved myself relative to the camera and maybe moved the lights to reflect that. And that's one of the other things. Like, I can only do so much moving around with the lighting and matching the lighting from scene to scene. There's just so much.
It's almost like an equivalent to stop motion animation, and sort of that concept of having a constantly updated shot or a position.
Yeah. But yeah, this has already been one of our longer streams, and I don't know about you. I know you work late all the time. I've been up since before 6 a.m. I am very tired. And tomorrow I'm going to be filming every solo shot I can. Because I've got a lot to make up for lost time on. But
You have my regards.
thank you, sir. So, thank you, as always, for joining us. I hope that all of my fellow Jewish Ranger fans have a very happy Rosh Hashanah, Lashana Tova, Happy New Year, may it be sweet. And before we wrap things up, let us not forget our remaining 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say with me, chat, love is love. Number 2, say with me, chat, trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say with me, chat, robots are cool. And so are the people inside them.
Are you calling me a robot?
I'm calling you a person inside a robot. So I love the one episode of Dino Fury where the Green Ranger he says, "I never want to be inside a robot again." we go inside a giant robot every week. Not like that. Forget the exact line. But anyway, thank you all. Have a great night. Have a great week. Have a great new year. I'll see you next time. And until then, farewell, Ranger fans. And let the power protect you. And thank you again.